Whoever that was, he had a good time in my place. I managed to go through the entire day without letting them notice I wasn't there? Alright. When did that person leave everyone? This morning, my mother got mad at me for having stayed out so late last night. Which meant at the very least, that cage might have come home while my mother was still awake. The festival would have been closed because of the downpour. If I recall right, when I went back to the house's storage room to get another shovel, I think the clock said 7. Since it was already raining hard by then, the festival would have had to close down before 7. If I'd returned that early, I would have definitely run into my parents. Or at the very least, they wouldn't have asked me when I got back last night. So the cage in Mahabara from yesterday, that meant he never went home. That meant the downpour happened, the festival was broken up, everyone left. But he didn't go back to the house. That means... I arrived at a natural conclusion. A wicked chill suddenly froze my spine and climbed up to my brain. That meant Keiichi Mahabara was the same as Satoshi. Are you saying that Satoshi came back to Hinamizawa to take Keiichi's place? I guess you could say that it goes along with the idea of how Satoshi and Keiichi worked together to kill Teppei. In Keiichi's mind, that is. You know, during those moments where we even heard Satoshi's voice for the first time. Hey, let's kill Teppei together. Or back at the swamp, when they had that moment together. Could it really be that Satoshi just came and disguised themselves as Keiichi to help him murder Teppei? One day, he never went home. On the night of Wanagashi, he never went home. The downpour interrupted the festival, and on the way home, he suddenly disappeared. And I, who was dealing with the corpse, went home without a problem. I was so tired I wasn't even hungry, so I went up to my room without a sound and crawled into my futon. Who was I? That much was obvious. Keiichi Mahabara. Keiichi Mahabara was me. There may have been another me, but that doesn't negate the fact that I was Keiichi Mahabara. Then, that other Keiichi Mahabara was... what? Oh my god. We are truly going down that path of questioning our identity here, aren't we? Questioning if that other Keiichi was Satoshi, or another spin to it would be if this Keiichi may actually be Satoshi. Suddenly, I laid eyes on Satoko. Satoko's expression was dark as always. She seemed completely exhausted, and a life of agony she couldn't even imagine an ending to. And she's still like that. What had last night been like for Satoko? Did she have fun with everyone and feel a little happier, even if for a moment? And when she went home, the end of her dream, she'd probably gone to sleep afraid of when her uncle would return. I mean, maybe it hasn't clicked. Maybe she's still thinking that the uncle was gonna come back at some point. Like, it can't be that Satoko would come and see that Teppei is not there and thinking, yay, my uncle is gone forever, he ran away again. No, she could very well be thinking that maybe Teppei just drank like a lot at somebody's home and they just slept there. And Teppei is actually eventually gonna come back home, like after a night and after the hangover. And then this morning, her uncle hadn't come home. And then she went to school. Right now, she must have been still trapped by the rotten idea from which she couldn't be saved. That her uncle would need her when she got back. But you can rest easy, Satoko. Your uncle won't ever be coming back. I couldn't tell her it was because I killed him. When Satoko realized on her own that her uncle would never return, then that would truly be the end of the long, insane night. And that's right. I didn't do anything wrong. I did the best possible thing I could have as Satoko's Nini. Not an atom in my body regretted it. And look, calm down and think, Keiichi Maebara. From a certain point of view, isn't it convenient there was another Keiichi Maebara? I buried the corpse perfectly. A beginning won't happen. But if worst came to worst, and it got out, and the investigation got to me, I know I had a strong alibi, able to profess the fact that I'd been at the Watanagashi festival. I mean, that's true. Whether everybody is perfectly faking it to hide Keiichi, or there was somebody as Keiichi there, it is a strong alibi nonetheless. But accepting something so creepy and using it as an alibi, still, if I proved I hadn't gone to the festival yesterday, it would do no good and a whole lot of harm. That was what left a really actually bad aftertaste. You'll forget about it, Keiichi Maebara. Everything that happened before today. So just forget about the Keiichi Maebara who was there yesterday. Instead, let's watch gently over Satoko, for the day her smile returns. And the day that would mark the end of that insane all too long night. Alright.
それでは今日はこれで終わりです。皆さん、寄り道をしないでちゃんとお家へ帰るんですよ。委員長、号令。起立。
Kere.
気をつけ。礼。
Goodbye. I thought about many things, and saw my thoughts dispersed by many other things. I didn't know whether or not that time had been spent worrying or daydreaming, but either way it came to an end along with the class. Cheerfully, our classmates got their things and ran for the hallway. Mion, Ren, and Rika-chan were packing up as well. Well, what about Satoko? This whole day, she seemed deflated. You know, I was thinking, if we were to get to the bottom of this, I was thinking maybe we could ask the mayor, see if the same story lines up with Rika and the others. But it kind of made me think, okay, the mayor and Rika, they know each other, and the mayor thinks dearly of Rika. Could it be possible that let's say that this entire thing is just a story that they made to hide Keiichi from murder? Would that mean that Rika came to the mayor, who, if you were to ask the mayor, and he would agree with the story, that would be the highest level of alibi, because how would you doubt the mayor of all people that they would hide about the murder of somebody? If the mayor would be able to even accept that Rika would go to the mayor and ask them, hey, let's create a story and hide Keiichi from murder, please. We cannot allow Keiichi to disappear from our lives as well. He means the world to us. And Teppei was an asshole as well, so can we do this? The question is, would the mayor go along with this? Because, I don't know, like, on one hand, the mayor thinks dearly of Satoko, and Teppei, he was an asshole as well, but would he actually go along with murder? We don't really know the mayor that much for us to conclude anything on that. Although the idea of the entire village hiding the murders behind the curse as well, therefore the mayor actually going along with this, it is an option as well. That's not something that I can throw out the window, that the mayor would actually hide this for the sake of keeping the Yashiro curse, like, still intact. I guess I'll think about this a little bit more, like, during the investigation video, unless some new pieces of evidence would drop by before that. Well, her uncle may not have returned last night, but she wouldn't have known he'd never return. I get the feeling that we still have some stuff left in this chapter. Like, we've been going at this chapter for quite a while, but I get the feeling that there's still a lot more stuff that will happen. Only now we enter the Watanagashi festival, so God knows how long we have left until this chapter ends. How much I wanted to express that fact to her. Satoko packed up her pencil box and math workbook mentally, and after a dark glance at the clock, heaved a sigh. Oh my god. Satoko packing her pencil box and math workbook and said that a cute little baby. Oh my god. My baby! Why does she have to go through this? Why is she being such a dum-dum because of Uncle Teppei? Then went to leave the classroom. Then suddenly, somebody placed a hand on her shoulder and stopped her. What?
何ですの？私、ちゃんと水やり当番もやりましたし、プリントだってちゃんと。
Her words, possessed by a persecution complex, hurt. I spoke loudly so everyone could hear.
なあみんな、さ、今日は久しぶりにやらないか？部活。
Satoko always had to tend to her uncle, so club has been on hiatus. In our minds, our club was proof of a calm, peaceful life. By enjoying being together, I wanted to make Satoko realize her days of darkness were over.
レナは、いいよ。そりゃ、まあ、私は構わないけど、サトコがいいならね。
Under a condition. That was important. With everything up to her, Satoko gave a worried look.
なあ、サトコ、久々にどうだよ。パーッとさ。
その、お気持ちは嬉しいでございますけど。
My uncle might already be home. Thus spoke her darkened eyes, her mouth unmoving.
サトコもさ、連日息が詰まるような生活をずっと続けててさ、もうそんなのは心にも体にも悪いだけだぜ。やっぱりたまにはパーッと弾けなきゃな。
放っておいてくださいまし。私だってそりゃ部活がまたやれたらと思っていますわよ。
With one word, but she looked down.
みんなで遊んだ方が楽しいのはサトコだってよく知ってるだろ。俺たちは仲間だぜ。みんなで一緒に過ごすようにできてるんだよ。サトコだって昨日みんなでお祭りで騒いで楽しかったろ。
Rena nearly said something, but she was too late.
ケイチさん、何を言ってますの？
My arm on her shoulder seemed to weigh her down, and she threw it off.
私がお祭りで楽しく、いつ遊んだって言うんですの？楽しく遊んだのはケイチさんだけじゃありませんの。
I looked over to Mion for help, but now everyone was looking down. My instincts told me that Satoko hadn't gone to the festival. But Rena said it herself. She went with Mion to Satoko's house to invite her. Could it be that's true? However, that doesn't mean that Satoko actually went to the festival. She was deadly silent when the rest of the girls were talking about Keiichi at the festival.
サトコちゃん、途中で帰っちゃったの。神社には行かなかった。
どうして？
I realized the absurdity of what I just said with Satoko in front of me.
おじが家で待ってるのに、一人だけ遊んでると悪いって言って、神社の直前で。
私たちも引き止めたんだよ。今日はおじさん公認だから、ちゃんと遊んでも怒られないんだよって。
At some point, tears had begun welling up in Satoko's eyes. Satoko was so afraid of her uncle that she couldn't even allow herself time with her friends, and went home. No, she was even afraid of letting herself have a good time with her friends.
圭一さんはいいですわね。みんなで楽しくお祭り一夜を過ごせて。聞けば、大層盛り上がって大活躍だったそうじゃないですの。お羨ましいことですわ。
Smiling to herself, her tears began to fall.
私には、養わなければならない叔父がいますの。圭一さんみたいに、ご両親にのんびり養ってもらってる人とは、わけが違いますですのよ。
さとこ。
楽しくお祭りが過ごせてよかったですわね。私の分まで楽しく過ごせて本当におよろしかったですこと。私だって部活がしたいですわ。みんなで楽しく大騒ぎして楽しくて。でも今の私、そんなの
Unable to withstand such violent emotion, a few teardrops slipped down her cheek. But even though she was having such a terrible time, not once did she ever say that it was hard for her. It was a sad, obstinate bravery. But the days when Satoko had to feel like that were over. Satoko didn't need to endure it, to bear it anymore. She could forget all about it now and smile. I was so frustrated at not being able to tell her that directly. Instead, I said something that I'm not sure I should have said before I thought twice about it.
帰ってこないんだろ、あいつは。
The words were deeply meaningful to me, but I didn't know if Satoko understood them.
帰ってこないって誰がですの？
ゆうべは帰らなかったんだろ、お前のおじは。
何を言ってますの、圭一さんは。
Satoko shouted with all her might.
あいつがいついなくなったって言うんですの？いつ
落ち着けよ。だって昨日あいつは帰ってこなかったろ。
圭一さんが何を言ってるのか全然わかりませんでしたよ。
さとここそ何を言ってんだよ。だってあの男は。
I killed him. Killed him yesterday. Killed him for sure. And I buried him. Buried him whole. He could never have returned to his house.
昨日だって私にいっぱい意地悪して、怒鳴って、わめいて、当たり散らして、作ったご飯を投げられた。お味噌汁もひっくり返された。暑かった。汚かった。そしてお掃除も私がした。私が
What? Our stories weren't matching up.
あいついる？
今朝だって朝ごはんの時は起こせって言われたから起こしたのに怒られた。起こさなかったらまた怒るように起こしても怒られた。
さとこ。
Urika-chan went over to Satoko and said a few words of consolation. The fuck? Satoko angrily refused those words and thrust Rika-chan away.
ニーニー早く帰ってきてよ。
Satoko slowly walked out into the hallway. After a moment, Rika-chan went after her. I couldn't stop thinking about the words Satoko had spoken while crying. Oh boy. I'm having like the worst possible thought right now. What if that person that Keiichi killed wasn't actually Teppei? It was somebody else. And you could say, well, of course, it should have been Teppei since Keiichi recognized their features. I mean, how could he not? But what if it was added with the curse of Ayashiro, making him think that he was looking at Teppei when in actuality it was somebody else? I mean, that would be just coincidence of the cosmic level in that case, because somebody was going through the forest with a motorcycle. At that point, who would go through the forest if it wasn't for Teppei? Like, the only way that we can figure this out would be to go to Satoko's house and see if Teppei is actually alive. That's the only way that we can determine if this is actually true or not. Unless there is the other spin to it, that Teppei is actually dead, and none of that stuff that Satoko is talking about actually happened physically. But in her mind, it happened last night. That she felt like she was being tortured by Teppei, when in actuality she was just having a meltdown in her house. Like, I don't know. We gotta see if Teppei is actually still alive or not. I buried her uncle last night, but she said this morning that was impossible. I buried him last night, so she couldn't have seen her uncle this morning. What was Satoko? At that point, I heard Mion's cold voice.
ねえ、ケイちゃん。サトコのおじさんが帰ってこないって。何？
Yeah, you did that kind of mistake, Keiichi, where you said that the uncle didn't come back home. Somebody would definitely question you, how the fuck would you know that? That sort of stuff. Of course, Mion would question about that. Oh, Keiichi, couldn't you have just waited at least one more day? I said too much. I let my emotions get the better of me.
レナも聞いたよ。サトコちゃんのおじさんが帰ってこないって言った。
どうして？なんで帰ってこないの？
おかしいよね。だって、今朝もちゃんとサトコちゃんのおじさんはいるんだよ。なのに、なんで帰ってこないなんて言うのかな。
ケイちゃん、言ってることがさっきから変。
Suddenly, Mion and Rena start to speak in strange and creepy voices. Oh boy. The curse is taking effect. Oyashiro, please. What were they doing? What were they saying?
ケイちゃんは、サトコのおじさんがいると、何か都合が悪いことでもあるわけ？
Well, of course.
お前らこそ、サトコのおじなんかいない方がいいに決まってるだろうが。
うん。それはもちろんいない方がいいよね。よね。
Something wasn't right. The next thing I knew, Mion and Rena were smiling thinly, and their eyes were dark and muddy, in a way that I'd never seen before. Oh boy. This is it. It's happening. Chaos is happening inside Keiichi's mind. He's thinking about how his plan may have failed that Teppei is still alive, and like all this suffering is gonna continue forever. Now he's becoming stressed, and now he's gonna start seeing demons again. Oh boy. Oh god. And as our eyes met, the mud even seemed to fill the air.
サトコのおじは確かに嫌なやつだよね。私もいなくなった方がいいやつだと思うよ。でもさ、いるわけだし、仕方ないじゃない。
Nothing we can do. Something's wrong. Something's clearly wrong here. What the hell was happening? After a moment, a chilly liquid-like feeling, as though my blood had been mixed with sherbet, crawled up my spine.
仕方ないって、そりゃ仕方ないけど、でもそれじゃサトコが。
仕方がなければどうするのかな。
Good. When I was trying to prompt me to say more, there really was no choice, so I killed him. Oh, they're thinking that. They are thinking that. I killed him to protect Satoko.
それは
放っておきなよ。そのうち解決しちゃうと思うしさ。
さとこちゃんがおじさんがいるって言ってるんだからいる。ちゃんと昨日もいたし、今朝もいる。そうならそうでいいんじゃないかな。かな。
Mion and Rena were speaking unbelievably dismissively. How could they be talking like that? Mion and Rena, they were my friends. I was seriously worried about Satoko's abuse, weren't they? They would never blurt out something like this. And I definitely killed Satoko's uncle. No matter what Satoko or anyone else says, I acknowledged it, because him being alive was impossible. There's no way he was alive. It was impossible. And yet, since Satoko herself said he was here, then he was alive. Then go out there, go to Satoko's, household, and see if Teppei is actually there. You gotta do it, Keiichi. Otherwise I'm gonna start losing my mind here. I didn't know why or how, but suddenly, Mion and Rena were at my sides, standing there silently. We gotta see if Teppei is physically still alive.
帰ろうよ、ケイちゃん。
帰ったらね、今日は久しぶりにレナ、宝探しに行くつもりなんだ。みーちゃんも来るんだよ。
ケイちゃんも一緒に行こう。もちろん拒否権はないからね。
Damn it. They are not gonna let us go. Because I was thinking of going to Satoko's house and see if Teppei is actually there. But now they're basically dragging us out here, wherever they want. Your words could freeze blood. Then there was no doubt that they would have frozen me solid. I could hear it, a strange sound, like a layer of thin ice spreading, emanating from every joint in my body. And with them closely at my sides, we left the school, as if they were police officers taking me away. They talked about silly things the entire way home, like they always did, but they always stood at my sides, as if to prevent me from escaping. And this was strange. Everything about this day was strange. Yeah, you know what? I was thinking that the girls would, when we enter the classroom, that the girls would be worried and silent, thinking that Keiichi's the murderer, but they did a complete 180 on me. What the fuck? Why are you girls so complicated? What is this level of miscommunication here? Either we believe 100% what they're saying is true, in which case Keiichi's losing his goddamn mind and there's another Keiichi, or they're lying to us about everything that happened. In which case there's a whole level of miscommunication going on over here that is gonna spread even more chaos. No matter what the fuck? Yes, thinking back, it's been strange ever since killing Satoko's uncle. That creepy meeting with Takano-san was only the beginning, and the same night was still continuing. Yes, it still hadn't ended.
何？どうしたのケイちゃん。急に立ち止まったりして。
ごめん。なんでもないよ。
When I stopped, he was distant, but I definitely heard him. An extra set of footsteps. That was proof. Proof that insane night hadn't ended. God damn it, those stupid extra footsteps. Mion left where she usually did, and finally we came to my house.
じゃあね、ケイチくん。お家で待っててね。レナ、すぐに迎えに行くから。
What was it? She was inviting me along on one of her oversized garbage treasure hunts at the damn site, right? But why now? Mion coming along was strange too. Mion may have accepted Rena's old hobby, but she hated fishing for garbage, so she'd never come with her before. That means that either we're gonna have like an extra very important conversation with both of them somewhere, or they want us to see something in particular. And the location specifically being the dam site was a little creepy. The dam construction site was completely outside the flow of everyday life. It was so remote that no one ever went there unless they thought to it in particular. Or Tomitake. Nobody lived there. There were no lights, so at night it got dark very quickly. I was being forcibly invited there. There was no reason I had to fear Rena and Mion. Besides, wouldn't the trouble I'd make by refusing them be a pain to deal with? And that way, it didn't seem like going treasure hunting with them was a bad idea. But that insane night was continuing. Haven't the signs of instinct been waiting in my mind for a while now? Well, the Higurashis are surely becoming louder and louder in our minds, it seems. Warning me that Rena and Mion were strange. That I needed to be cautious. The warning sirens were so freaking loud it felt like my head would split in two.
あ、レナ、俺、実はちょっと用事があるんだ。
用事？何の？
なんのって、用事だよ、用事。
用事なら、なんでみーちゃんがいるうちに言ってくれなかったの？みーちゃんとはダム現場で待ち合わせって言って別れちゃった後なのに。
Rena was smiling, but her words made her discomfort clear.
ごめん。ちょっと言い出すタイミングを逃しちゃって。
本当に？
You're lying, aren't you? You just made it up now, you liar. That's what Rena's eyes said to me.
俺、頭が痛いんだ。風邪かもしれない。だから、病院に行って、薬をもらってきたいんだよ。
本当に？
I mean, that wasn't really a lie. Like, we had been in the downpour for quite a while. If we didn't catch a cold, we surely would sooner or later. My head did hurt a little bit, so I wasn't lying. But she couldn't figure out if my head hurt or not, just by looking at it.
なら仕方ないね。
After staring at me in the eyes for a few months, she fired a sharp needle-like stare at me. Frickin' needles. The tension in my body loosened. I felt like my knees might buckle.
診療所に行くなら早く行った方がいいと思うよ。あそこたまに早く閉まるから。
ありがとう。そうするよ。
必ず行くんだよ。病院。
行くよ。
本当に行くんだよ。
行く。
It seemed like Rena had realized that I was going to refuse her invitation for a while now. With how serious she looks, she might actually call the clinic later to make sure I went. I couldn't say anything careless. Lying about getting checked out was just an excuse to decline her request in the first place. It didn't matter whether I actually went.
ちゃんと行くよ。なんなら明日、病院のレシートを持って行ってもいい。
それいいね。必ずもらっておいてね。レナ、明日見るから。
Another tingle started crawling up my back. There was no ignoring it. Renamion must have been monitoring my movements. That wasn't normal. Far from it. All of it was insane. I did what I did because I wanted my peaceful life back. But what on earth was all this? It was far from peaceful. Something had gone mad, leaving the world out of order. With the other Keiichi Maebara, with those creepy footsteps I've been hearing, with Renamion acting so curious, and above all, with him being alive. Where was I? Hinamizawa village, Shishibone. I knew that much. Unless this is actually hell. Was this really the Hinamizawa I knew?
おい、前原圭一。ここは、どこなんだ?
I asked, whipping around before the front door, to face the one who has been following in my wake all day. Nobody would have been there, of course. Keiichi Maebara, huh? That's what I just called him. Called the one who had been treading behind me this whole time. That shadowy presence, always clinging to me, like he was constantly watching for the opportunity to change places. Footsteps always following me was another impossibility. It couldn't have been a ghost. It's just impossible. So the strangeness must have been my ears, my head, or Hinamizawa. Everything I could see was the same exact Hinamizawa I knew so well, and that gave me the creeps. Eventually, I decided to actually go to the clinic. I really didn't want to go outside, but a stronger feeling than that desire was the fear Rena might actually be keeping an eye on me to see if I went to the hospital. But before I went to the clinic, there was something I wanted to make sure of. It was at school. At school? I pretended I'd forgotten something, and was going back to the classroom to pick it up. I guess we're gonna go ahead and, well, as soon as the thought crossed my mind, I was overwhelmed by paranoia. I was just going to the classroom, but I hated it so much, having to be so careful to fake it. After carefully verifying once more that nobody was watching, I went over to the locker. Yes, Satoshi's locker. I committed a crime with the bat I found in his locker. Satoshi's bat. Yeah, I guess that is one way of checking. Although not really. Like, let's say that the bat was not there. You could think that all that has happened last night was all in your mind. But it could very well be that it all happened in your mind. But Satoshi's bat not being there, it could be that somebody else took the bat for some unknown reason. So I guess you could say that that is a piece of evidence, but it's not something conclusive. What would be conclusive would be to check Satoko's house and see if Teppei is actually there. And then I had thrown the bat into a swamp, which meant the bat shouldn't have been inside. Yeah, indeed. But what if the bat was still in here? It was a very dreadful, incomprehensible idea. But if it was true, it would explain a lot. If the bat wasn't here, yesterday's events would all have been a delusion. No, an illusion. I hadn't killed anyone, and I'd gone to the festival. I had a great time rampaging about with everyone. You proved that Keiichi Maebara was really me. That is true. If it was all an illusion, then that would explain every single little strangeness that happened today. Proof that I was only under some strange assumption that I killed Satoko's uncle. Proof that it had been all a wild fantasy, That would explain everything. Nothing happened yesterday. I just got mad, unable to separate my shocking uncle-killing dream from reality. That would explain everything. If the bat was here, would I be able to accept that reality? If it was here, nothing would have changed. If it was here, it would just mean I'd gone complete bonkers. Preparing myself for the worst, I opened the locker door. I was actually scared of opening it slowly, so I threw it open with a bang. Is it? Is it actually there or not? Just like the first time, the choking scent of smell and sweat, like a stale towel, came flowing out. There was a baseball uniform, and some miscellaneous other things like notebooks. There was also a shoe pouch. Go on. And as for the bat, he wasn't here. Okay. It was how I left it when I took the bat out. There was no doubt. Yesterday really happened. Now that I knew I wasn't a lunatic, I felt relieved. But at the same time, if I wasn't the crazy one, then Hinamizawa was. And that was evidence of a reality I found just as difficult to accept. There was noise somehow, creeping into everything I saw, and the world was losing a tiny bit of color. So, what did I know about last night now? Now that I made sure that the bat wasn't there, I didn't need to be here anymore. Shall I go? Well, I might as well. For real. To the hospital. Alright, well, here's the thing about the hospital thing. If we are to go with the thoughts that I had in the first chapter, then that would mean that we will go to the hospital, the doctor would check us, and then we would just go home. And eventually, something tells me that the white van and the men in suits are gonna start appearing yet again by the end of this. I get the sneaking suspicion, like once we go to the hospital and do the exact same thing again, this would happen. It was my first time going to the hospital, but from what I heard, it wasn't far from school. My mom had told me where it was. A big, easy-to-see road went straight there. I went past the shopping street and made a turn. It wasn't overly hard to spot the sign with a.k.a. clinic written on it. Yeah, also speaking of Takano, I wonder if Keiichi is gonna find out that Takano is dead here as well. There was one other person, an older man, there in the air-conditioned waiting room. I went up to the counter and told him it was my first time here. The man behind the counter glanced at the clock and said there would be a short wait. It was almost 5. Clinic hours would be ending soon. As I sat in this unfamiliar waiting room, isolated from everyone, and let myself feel the cool air, I actually felt relieved. What should I tell the doctor when he comes? I could tell him I had a cold, but I was the very picture of health. Actually, I wanted him to check my head. I wanted someone to confirm for me whether I was really sane or not. Well, if my thoughts are right about chapter 1, then there are surely gonna be some people who are gonna decide that.
Maebara-Keiichi-san!
Yeah. Let's not forget that Iri is here.
診察室へお入りください。
Huh? The voice from the other side of the examination curtain. I thought I heard it somewhere before.
こんにちは。
Hello there, Iri.
ここでお会いするのは初めてですね。
監督ってお医者さんだったんですか？
I didn't mention it. He did seem to know his way around when he was looking at my shoulder in the nurse's office. Well, yeah, of course. We found out from Oishi when we met him that day. Also, I just made the connection that we're talking about the iria clinic right over here, and here we have Iria himself. Now I finally made the connection. It would make sense if he was actually a doctor. Come to think of it, our teacher called him Iria Sensei, didn't she?
一応お医者さんなんかやっています。お医者さんはいいですよ。若いすべすべなお肌を見放題の触り放題。怪しいお注射で自由を奪って私だけの専属メイドに。
I'd rather not. I mean, I don't even have silky smooth skin to begin with. Because I'm a skeleton.
ありがとうございました。今のを見てただけで風邪が治りました。失礼します。ペコリ。
わったったった。前原さん。冗談です。
Are you sure about that?
さ座って診察させてください。聴診器を当てますから、前原さんのすべすべのお胸を見せてください。
For some reason, I felt really relieved. You know, you being here, Irie, checking on Keiichi yourself, that really doesn't help me. Emotionally speaking, to be quite honest, if I'm to think of my thoughts from chapter 1, that you're the one who is gonna check on Keiichi. If you're gonna be the one to check on Keiichi. After that insane night, as much as I thought everything had gone crazy, Coach was here doing the same thing he always did. I was very happy for that.
風邪ではないようですね。むしろ全身の擦り傷や切り傷の方が痛々しいくらいです。ひょっとして半袖半ズボンで藪の中に入って遊びましたか？切り傷から破傷風菌が入った可能性もないとは言えませんし。
As I was chasing that man last night, I kept being scraped by bits of trees. I didn't realize I had so many cuts.
昨日のお祭りではしゃぎすぎましたね。若いというのはいいことです。
And once again, I apparently went to the festival.
監督も行ったんですよね。お祭り。
ええ、もちろんですよ。私こう見えても綿流しの実行委員会の役員ですからね。
俺に会いましたか？
And this coach was the same coach that I always know. I felt like I could trust him more than my weird friends. So I asked. Once again, trusting complete strangers more than our friends. What the fuck?
実は私、本部テントでずーっと会長さんたちとお酒を飲んでたんで、全然お祭りは見て回ってないんですよ。
God damn it.
前原さんには会ってないと思います。
はい。
そうですか。
変わった質問をしましたね。ひょっとして今日、寝不足ですか？いけませんよ。成長期はよく食べよく寝て育つんですから。
Coach let out a laugh. He didn't laugh in a natural way, like me on Arena did. Coach was okay. He was a coach from the world I knew. He wasn't someone from this abnormal world.
こんな話、きっと変だと思うんですけど、笑わないで聞いてほしいんです。
ええ、どうぞ。思春期のシャイな悩み、大いに歓迎ですよ。
Please don't talk about puberty.
俺と、うり二つな人間がいる、なんて、ありえますか？
Coach hadn't expected that question at all, and couldn't say anything for a moment. But then he smiled calmly and quietly answered.
迷信ですが、世界には自分と全く同じ顔をした人があと2人いる、なんて話を聞いたことがありますね。
Two?
いるならぜひお会いしてみたいものですが。あと、おとぎ話にも自分の分身が登場する話がいろいろありますよ。ドイツのおとぎ話に出てくるドッペルのお化けなどは有名です。
ドッペルのお化け？
ええ、自分の姿に瓜二つなんだそうです。不幸の前触れなんだそうで、これに遭ってしまうと近いうちに死んでしまうみたいな話らしいですよ。
When you meet them, you're sure to die soon. The story ended directly in death, plain and simple, and it made my spine tingle. Coach wasn't saying it to scare me though. He was just offering a casual anecdote. But that made it feel all the more real.
そのお化けがHinamizawaに出るなんて話はありますか？
ええさーて、どうでしょう。
Coach must have thought he was being teased, so he laughed in an exaggerated way. But when I didn't smile along with him, his laughter steadily grew fainter.
すみません。ちょっと真面目な話のつもりだったんで。
いえ、こっちこそ笑ってすみませんでした。何か気になることでもおありですか？
I wondered if I should tell him. Then after resolving myself one final time, I slowly spoke.
俺、昨日はお祭りに行っていないんです。
そうでしたか。お祭りは来年もあります。その時また。
そうじゃなくて、俺は祭りに行っていないのに、みんなが言うには、俺は祭りにいたらしいんですよ。
Alright, let's see where this is gonna lead us.
こんなことってあるんですか？
After blinking his eyes in amazement, Coach thought seriously about what I was trying to say. And he answered, choosing his words carefully.
お話を整理しますね。つまり前原くんは綿流しのお祭りに行ったけど、その記憶がないということですか？
I was trying to say something completely different, but I suppose any sane person would come to that conclusion. That night, Keiichi Maebara was actually at a festival, but I was saying I didn't go. That obviously meant my memories of going there had failed me. But that was absolutely impossible. That fabled act I had committed during the downpour couldn't possibly have been an illusion. All these scrapes on my body prove it, as does the fact that Bat wasn't in the locker. Unless something else happened to you, Keiichi, for those scrapes to have happened on your body that wasn't the downpour killing.
いえ、違うんです、監督。俺は本当に祭りに行っていないんです。
気を悪くしないでくださいよ、前原さん。
I mean, otherwise, I'd 100% agree with Keiichi. There is evidence that he actually did it, and yet...
前原さんには、これまでに気づいたら見知らぬ場所にいたとか、そういう記憶の欠落を経験されたことがありますか？
ないです。それに、記憶を失ったとか、そういうのじゃない。だって、その祭りの時間には、別の用事を確かにやっていましたから、寝てて意識がなかったとか、そういうのじゃありません。
その用事は間違いなく？大変失礼ですが、何かの思い込みでなく？
間違いありません。完全にはっきりとした記憶、いや事実です。
お祭りの時間に神社にいなくて、よそで別の用事をしていた。それをはっきりした形で証明できますか？
That's right. Thinking it through brought me to this. There was only one way to prove that I wasn't at the festival yesterday. And that was to show that there was no doubt I had killed her uncle. Coach saw me struggling to answer, and his eyes looked a little cold. I guess they would. After all, from Coach's perspective, I was just a weirdo sputtering nonsense.
少し横になりましょうか。心を落ち着けて楽にしましょう。
別に横になりに来たわけじゃありません。遠慮します。
少し神経に高ぶりがあるようです。鎮静剤を注射して少し目をつむってみませんか？それで。
俺は異常者じゃない。
I realized Coach was treating me like a deviant, so I raised my voice. KG?
気に障ったなら謝ります。ですからどうか落ち着いて。
俺は絶対に祭りには行っていない。それは本当に間違いないんです。
分かってます。分かってますから、どうか落ち着いて深呼吸を。
あんたは全然分かっていない。
Coach was stunned and stared in stupefaction.
分かっていますよ、前原さん。あなたは昨日はお祭りに来なかった。そうですよね。私は信じます。信じますよ。
Coach jotted down a brief note in his records. He was writing it in German, so that his patient wouldn't know what it said. Oh, how lovely. But I could make a good guess as to what he wrote.
あの時間に何をしていたか全部話さないと信じませんか？
いいえ、信じますから。どうか座ってください。
Before I sat, I tilted my head back a little. The blood in my face all drained out, and I quieted down. After taking a deep breath, I made sure that I was calm now.
俺が祭りの会場にいることはありえない。なぜならその時間に俺は。
Should I tell him? Or not? I really didn't want to go on living like this, feeling this horrible.